Yo, sometimes life calls for a change. Not fake, just different. It'll show you a different way. And right now, I'm on to my different way. I can promise you this is the same Spann, but the reporting is over. I'd like to welcome you to the Mr. Spann official podcast. Let's go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mr. Spann official podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Spann. This is episode number 36 of the show. And yeah, man, we are back. It's been a week since the last time I talked to y'all, man, and it's been quite an eventful week and kind of a dull week. And at the same time, man, there's not been a lot for me personally going on over the course of the week, of course. I mean, shit, nigga just been going to work. You know what I'm saying? Going to work, trying to get that dollar and, you know, pay bills or whatever else. You know, the shit that, you know, they don't, you know, when you was growing up, you were like, man, I can't wait to be grown, man. I can't wait to go out here and do whatever the fuck I want to do, man. And then, you know, you got to pay the cost to be able to do that shit. And, yeah, man, it's been work, mostly work this week. So, unfortunately, like, you know, I mean, not unfortunately, we got some shit to talk about. We definitely got some shit to talk about. It's just unfortunately we got to talk about this one motherfucker tonight. And so, we got that going on. But, yeah, just a little bit of an update though. Like, I think the last time I talked to y'all, I was celebrating my daughter's 21st birthday. Yeah, man, my baby girl is 21 years old now, and I talked to y'all about the fact that I was having some misgivings over the fact that my daughter wanted me up in the club with her while she celebrates 21. And yeah, man, we actually we did that. We did that. I was in the club with my baby girl for her 21st birthday, but I didn't stay long. Right? I did not stay long. That was not something that here's the thing, right? So let me tell y'all something. I'm definitely, you know, of the age now where I would definitely be the old nigga in the club, right? Like the whole shit about everything about the club life was irking the fuck out of me, man. I swear to God, right? So she had a birthday party. It was at Club Blue in downtown Detroit, right? So, you know, I was trying to do this thing where I know my daughter's gonna try to be like fashionably late. You know, you don't want to be the first motherfucker to show up at the club, this, that, and other. I get it, right? So I asked, I said, well, what time do you think y'all were gonna show up at the club or whatever? She told me she was gonna try to get there around 10:30, right? I'm like, all right, cool. That's fine. That's reasonable. And so I did the show, right? I was here talking with y'all. I did the show or whatever, and then I didn't leave my house. Until 10:30, right? Because she said she was trying to be there at 10:30. I'm like, well, if she ain't trying to be there till 10:30, let me make sure her ass gonna be there, and then I show up and we do the little club thing, and then I can get to hurry up, get the fuck out of there, right? So I get down there, I get downtown, and I don't know what the hell else was going on. I don't know if the Red Wings had a game. I don't know if the Pistons had a game. I don't know if there was like some sort of show or anything like that going on. But it was a shit ton of folks downtown on this day, right? A whole bunch of white folks, you know, a whole bunch of folks downtown, right? So, normally I would try to park on the street, but there was absolutely no way in hell I was going to be able to park on the street because all the spots was taken, right? So I ended up having to park my car in one of these little lots downtown. And y'all, you know, for anybody who's been in the Detroit area enough to know, if you got to park in one of those little parking lots downtown, they about to rape you in the pockets, man, because I ended up having to pay $30 to park my goddamn car. $30 to park my car. I ain't had not nan drink yet. I'm already upset, right? So I parked my car or whatever, and so then I walk over there. It was kind of brisk and shit, and I was like, man, I really should have grabbed the fucking coat. I didn't grab my coat, but you know, it is what it is. And get to the get to the line. It wasn't much of a line there, but it was kind of weird because like there was a few young ladies that were trying to get into the club and they was in front of me in line or whatever. And then like the security guard comes to me and he's like, "Hey man, I need to see your ID." And I was like, "Yo man, bless your heart, G, bless your heart," because I swear to God, man, I was old enough to be this nigga's daddy, man. I swear to God. God damn! This dude was young as shit, but he patting motherfuckers down, letting them in the club and checking IDs and shit. I'm like, hey man, good looking. I mean, I know I'm not like the youngest looking nigga in the world, but I ain't the oldest looking nigga in the world either. But he was like, yo man, I need to see your ID. I know he just doing his job, but yo man, it made your boy feel good. So I was happy about that, right? So all right, cool. You check my ID. So I had stopped before I got downtown. I went and I got cash. Because I don't normally really carry a lot of cash on me, man. Like, if a nigga try to rob me, he just practicing because you're not going to get shit up off of me. You might get the cars, but even the cars, that money can be redeemed. If you got cash on you, that shit just gone, right? So, I don't really carry a lot of cash, but I stopped and got cash because I knew I was going to probably have to park my car, have to pay cash for that. It was going to probably have to pay a cover charge to get in the club, right? So, go to the club. It's $20 to get in the club. So I'm out $50. I ain't did shit yet, right? I ain't did a motherfucking thing yet, but park my car and walk in this joint. I'm already out $50, right? So I'm like, But here's the rub. So because they took most of my cash for the parking, now I got to go to an ATM again so that I can, pay to get in this club, right? And so the young lady tells me it's $20 to get in, and I'm like, all right. I go over to this ATM that they got, but the ATM ain't got no motherfucking cash in it. Ain't got no cash. God damn! Ain't got no money. So I'm like, okay, so what the fuck do y'all do in a situation like this? Do I gotta walk out of this motherfucker and go find me an ATM so I can come back in this motherfucker and do the whole thing again, get patted down and the whole shit again? And they was like, well, you can cash app us. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll cash app you. That's fine. We can do the cash app or whatever. That's cool. So I do the cash app. She give me my ticket. I walk in there, and off top, I done forgot, that they have legalized marijuana here in Michigan or whatever. So like you can smoke your weed and shit in the club now. Before, like at most you couldn't even really smoke anything but like the hookahs and shit. But niggas is in there like they was sparking up their blunts or whatever in the club. So it was full of weed smoke in there, full of hookah smoke up in that motherfucker. The lights is dim and shit. And I noticed my daughter ain't got her ass in there yet. She ain't there. So I'm like, shit, she told me she was going to be here at 10:30. She ain't here at 10:30. I ain't leave my house till 10:30. Ain't nobody there yet. I don't know. I don't see not a motherfucker I know. So let me go ahead to this bar and go get me some drinks so I can, just kind of chill out, right? So I go to the bar, get myself a couple brews, and I get a double shot of the Crown Apple because they didn't have the peach, and they damn sure didn't have the blackberry. I've been looking for that shit. They didn't have that. So you had that going on. They didn't have any of that. So I'm doing my Crown Apple and the and two brews, and I'm nursing my drinks, right? But here's the thing. So there's this young lady that keeps walking past me. She walks past me like 4 or 5 times, and I think she's like a bottle girl. You know what I'm saying? But I see her, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, yo, I know that girl from somewhere. I just don't know where I know her from, right? And this bottle girl. She got like the little lingerie shit on. Like the fishnet stockings and shit, booty kind of hanging out or whatever. I know that girl from somewhere. I just don't know where I know her from. Still just nursing my drink and shit, So finally my daughter shows up, her mama, some of her mama's friends, and some of my daughter's friends, they show up, and, it's a whole thing. My daughter wanted to make an entrance, you know what I'm saying? And my daughter was looking nice, you know what I'm saying? She's a nice looking young girl. Like yo, it was her day. This is her 21st birthday. It's her time to turn up and that whole thing. I'm still just like, yo, man, I've been up in this motherfucker for a half hour, and your ass wasn't here. So I was a little upset, but I'm like, nah, let me chill out. This ain't about you, Spann. It's about your baby girl. It ain't about you, Spann. It's about baby girl. So I'm like, all right, cool. Let me chill out. We over there, we kicking it or whatever. And she had like my daughter wanted to drink tequila, you know what I'm saying? And I wasn't really on the tequila, but I'm like, I'll let you drink your tequila, and I'll be drinking, my whiskey or whatever. And she, my daughter smokes weed. So her friends, they trying to spark up their weed or whatever. And so here's the thing though, that young lady that kept walking up and down the bottle girl that I was talking to y'all about just a second ago. Come to find out, the reason why I know this young lady is because she was my daughter's friend from back in the day when they used to cheerlead for the little PAL team when they was like 7 or 8 years old. Wait, that's wrong. Like, no wonder I know this little girl, because she was my daughter's friend. Now I'm feeling hella awkward because I'm like, this girl got her cheeks out. I ain't supposed to be here, man. I ain't supposed to see this little girl like this. I ain't supposed to know this little girl like this. I'm feeling awkward, man. I'm feeling awkward. And I know I posted on I posted on Facebook and on Instagram that picture of Ronnie from Power raising Cana. I'm like, this is me up in the club for my daughter's 21st birthday. Real talk, that's kind of how I felt. I kind of felt like that, like, yo, man, I'm just not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be here. Look at this shit going on all around me. I ain't supposed to be here. And I'm watching, shit go on. I'm like, man, this is how he was when we was 21, being silly and shit, right? So yeah, that was going on. But more than anything, I was happy that my daughter was happy and that like she wanted to, kick it with her old man at the club for a hot second, you know what I'm saying? Cause most kids, they're not really trying to kick it with their parents like that. You know what I'm saying? So I did think it was kind of dope that she even wanted me to be there for that. But I was at the same time, I was just like, nah, man, you ain't going to be able to turn up the way you want to turn up with Pop standing there. Like, you're not going to be able to do it. Like, it's going to feel strange. It's going to feel strange for you. It's going to feel strange for me. So I got the fuck out of there. You know what I'm saying? Her mama got the fuck out of there with her group of friends, and I got the fuck out of there, and it was just me. And then I brought my behind on home, man. It was like, yo, man, I realize now why, again, I don't go to the club no more. That's a young people's game. I am not about that life no more. I catch me at a lounge, you know what I'm saying? Maybe a blues club or some shit like that. You might catch me there, man, but you're not going to catch me just up in the club, man. There's something about being the old nigga in the club, and I felt like the old nigga in the club, man. But that's what happened after I got off of the microphone with you guys last week, man. I went and I spent that bit of time with my daughter and celebrated her for her 21st year of life here on Earth, man. So that was an experience, man, real talk. But before I go any further, because I haven't even introduced the show, or told y'all the business of the show, really. I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard, man. You can go ahead and hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get played here and responded to here live on the show. If you're calling us live while we're doing the show live right now on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you're watching us on any of those platforms, you can go ahead and hit up that hotline and chop it up with us live here. Area code 313-288-0485. You can also email us here at feedback@thespanreport.com. That's feedback@thespanreport.com. Go there, email us, and those emails will get right here live on the show. We appreciate everybody who does that. It's another way to get your voice heard. And that's another way to get in touch with us here. Follow me on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, follow me there, chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get right here live on the show. We appreciate everybody who goes about the business of doing that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety, right? Also, if you're catching us on YouTube, man, leave us a comment on our YouTube videos, right? Those YouTube videos, some of those comments will get highlighted. Some of those comments will get replied to here live on the show. So if you're feeling a way about something that I said here on the microphone, go ahead and let us know what you feel about what I said here on this microphone. So you can do that on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Threads, Instagram, Facebook. There's a whole bunch of different ways, right? Also, you can go to our website at www.thespanreport.com. You can go there and cop yourself some merch from our store, man. We got t-shirts, we've got hoodies, we've got athletic shirts. We're going to stop trying to call them white beaters. Our athletic tees. We have coffee mugs. We got mouse pads. We got the whole joints over there, man. So for those of you who would like to support us in that way, man, we really appreciate everybody who does that, right? And also, you can vote in polls and leave comments on our Spotify page, right? So if you're listening to us via Spotify, you can vote in the polls. You can leave us comments on what you think about what we said here on the show. And it's another way for you to get in contact with us and let your voice be heard here on the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety, right? And because we just mentioned some of those Spotify polls and comments, let me go over here and check to see what our feedback is like. And our last episode, we were talking about Monique, right? We spent a lot of that episode talking about Monique and the things that she was going through with her son, Shalon Jackson, I believe his name was. And, just kind of speaking on why celebrity kids, when they do come forward, why we should pay attention, because oftentimes people, because of the parasocial relationships that we have with celebrity, we tend to lean towards believing that celebrity when these kids are the ones that really know these motherfuckers in real life. Oftentimes we are taking the side of a nigga we don't know, and oftentimes like it's based upon just the art that they produced and how that art made us feel, not because of the people that they are, right? But we were talking about how, the question was, how do you feel about Monique's son coming out publicly about their issues? And there was one comment here. Wallace wrote in to say, I'm tired of all of this shit. Monique likes the attention. Yeah, man, and to some degree, I think there can be some truth to that. I don't know if she likes this sort of attention. Part of the reason why I don't believe that she likes this sort of attention is because usually Monique is on the other side of it, right? Usually Monique is telling us about an injustice that is being done to her, and how we as a community need to rally around her to help right the wrongs that have been done to her. But the flip side of that is like now we have her son coming forward to say that, she's wronged me, and suddenly, we need to like ignore what he's supposedly saying. And she's even joking about this on, publicly. And I know the job of a comedian is to like kind of take some of their life stories and make jokes of them. But I just think some of what she said about him after he came out, and especially after, like I said, with the commentary that I had last week about Sydney having much more to say about the situation than Monique did concerning her very own son, I just thought that was just kind of off-putting. But yeah, man, like, I don't know if she likes this attention. I think she likes attention. I don't know if she likes this particular attention. But thank you, Wallace, for writing in, man. Appreciate hearing from you. And also, we had a poll set up last week, and being in the club for your kid's 21st birthday. Are you going? And this one split right down the motherfucking middle. Well, actually, not really. Most of you motherfuckers said, nah, y'all ain't going. Nah, y'all ain't going. Damn! Because I gave y'all so many different options. It was like, nah, hell nah, yeah, hell yeah, day party or YOLO. And the results was nah and hell nah. So most of y'all ain't going to the club with y'all babies, man. But I guess, like I said, I just thought it was dope that she wanted her daddy to be there. You know what I'm saying? So I went and I supported my baby girl for a minute, and then I just got the fuck up out of there. But I appreciate you guys for voting in the polls, man. Real talk. And man, so let's get into some of these stories, man. I know, like I said, we got it's a bunch of Trump shit, but we're gonna get into some of this other stuff before we dive into the bullshit that Trump got going on this last week or so. Let's see, we're gonna talk about this here a bit. So the Chicago Bulls, man, some former Chicago Bulls, Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, and Luke Longley have decided that they are going to go on tour and tell their side of the Last Dance story, because they didn't like how they were portrayed in the docuseries, man.
This nigga was clearly lying.
That is how they felt. That is how they felt about their portrayal in the Last Dance. At least that's how they feel about Michael Jordan's portrayal of them in the Last Dance, namely Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen. Luke Longley was not in the series. Now I know he did his own series in Australia, and Michael Jordan made an appearance in that, and I believe he apologized to Luke Longley for Luke Longley not appearing in the Last Dance. So I'm not sure what his commentary in this particular tour is going to be. But we read this story here. This comes out of Yahoo.com. It says that Scottie Pippen is bringing his beef with Michael Jordan to an international audience. 3 members of the Chicago Bulls from the 1990s announced that they were going on tour to discuss their side of the Last Dance documentary. Pippen, Horace Grant, and Luke Longley partnered with Australia's National Basketball League to share an in-depth first-hand account of Michael Jordan's championship dynasty. It's going to be a no bullshit tour, Grant said. The tour, titled No Bull, will begin February 23rd in Tasmania before heading to Melbourne and Sydney. Pippen served as Jordan's right-hand man for all 6 championship runs. And Grant was the Bulls' big man from the 1987 to 1994, while Longley joined the team in 1994 for the second three-peat. It appears that the trio won't be holding back as they share behind-the-scenes insight from the Bulls' dynasty days. Now, I wonder if they're going to be showing footage from the Last Dance, like showing some of that footage, and then like trying to debunk what we saw from the Last Dance. I wonder if that's like the kind of approach they're going to take from it. It said the Last Dance premiered on ESPN in 2020 to universal acclaim, though some of Jordan's teammates weren't thrilled with how certain aspects of the era was portrayed. Pippen in particular has made it clear in recent years that he and Jordan no longer get along, while Grant took exception to Jordan's false claim that he leaked information to Sam Smith when he wrote the Jordan rules. Now, that's another thing too. So I can remember years ago, before the Last Dance came out, even before the second three-peat, before the first three-peat was even completed, that was the narrative around Horace Grant, was that when the book Jordan Rules came out, that the author of that book, his source within the team was Horace Grant. That was what the narrative was back in 93. So here we are in 2024, nearly 30 years later, and this dude is still mad about like the fact that like, yo, this is how people felt about you. And here's the other part that I think is interesting about, you know, them coming out with this tour and everything else. Of course, like y'all could, as a Bulls fan, y'all could take my word, you know, for a grain of salt. I get it, right? But I kind of feel like, you know, because both Horace Grant sat down for interviews for this documentary, Scottie Pippen sat down for interviews for this documentary. Some of the things that they talked about during those interviews had direct commentary on the things that we saw in the documentary, right? So the whole thing about Scottie Pippen not going into that game, going back into that game when he knew he wasn't going to get the last shot, the whole thing about Horace Grant being the source of the information that Sam Smith was getting when he was writing the Last Dance. I mean, the Jordan Rules. Like, these were things that they talked about during their interviews during the documentary. So the question that I would have is like, when they were asking you about this shit during the documentary, couldn't you have said, I don't want to talk about this shit? Or why is that relevant to what we're talking about for this show? If you didn't agree with what that portrayal could have been like, or what that narrative could possibly be, like, could you have just said, I don't want to talk about that, and not giving them anything, right? Then there's another part that I think that there was complaints about these guys and that they didn't get paid. Could you not just say, well, y'all not paying me, so I'm not talking? All right. Now, again, like, there's the catch-22 of like, well, you don't say anything and then they just frame it however they want. And these dudes are saying that they didn't get paid and they did speak, but they still framed it however they wanted. But it's like, yo, like, I do believe that there was some narrative that, there was some things that you said that made you look a certain kind of way. And it wasn't like the documentary did that. You said that shit, right? Like, there were things that y'all said that shit. Y'all did those things. And so I think that, like, for these two guys to be as disgruntled as they are this long afterwards, is it's just a bit disheartening to hear them talk about this in that way. And ironically enough, I was kind of perusing like YouTube or whatever, and I saw that Gilbert Arenas had something to say about it. And Gilbert Arenas, to me, like, I enjoyed him as a basketball player. Oftentimes I believe that his commentary is just a bit out there, right? But one of the things I think he said that was apropos, he was like, yo, man, don't nobody want to hear y'all complaining about being champions. Right? Y'all sound real crazy when y'all talk about ring culture being the thing that we should all strive for. And here y'all are with 6 rings and 3 rings, or 6 rings and 5 rings. And y'all are crying about what it took for y'all to get them. Nobody wants to hear that shit. And to a large degree, I agree with him. I agree with him in that sense. Like, yo, man, will we know who Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant was had it not been for their participation on those teams that, reached those heights? We wouldn't even know who these dudes are. So, yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see how they talk about this, because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Now, there's video attached to this. I didn't know that. Let me see if I can pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with me here. Let me do this here. Let me share my screen real quick so you guys can see. And let's do this here. Yeah, let's do this here. Let's see what they talking about.
Well, as if I need to introduce our next three guests, but I'll do it because it's polite and it's what you.
Oh shit, this video is 8 motherfucking minutes long. Let's see what y'all get to the. Let's get to the shit real quick. We gonna make it real quick out of this.
It's about shooting. I think anyone who had the opportunity to experience basketball in the 80s, in the 90s, you were very fortunate to watch a very physical game of basketball. And
okay, so they're not really getting to that. Okay, never mind. I'm not. We can just go ahead and pull that down right now. But yeah, man, it's gonna be real interesting to see how they like kind of navigate this going forward, man. But yeah, you know, Horace Grant, Scottie Pippen, Luke Longley, talking about Michael Jordan and The Last Dance 4 years after the shit, man. Just
niggas.
Yeah, man, niggas. So yeah, we got that going on. Now, another story that we had going on that kind of happened this week that I thought was interesting was the fact that there was a young man in Texas, I believe his name is Daryl George, and Daryl George has been going through it at school, man. Daryl George has been wearing dreadlocks, and his school has been suspending him because he refuses to cut off his dreadlocks. Yeah, man. So we get this story here. This comes out of CBS, and hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull this video up. If there's an ad playing, and that sucks. So let me refresh this here because we don't like ads. We don't, and I don't want to show you guys ads unless we getting paid for them. So let's do this. Let me share this particular tab here, and let's do that, and let's see what they talking about. Well, we gonna do this. We gonna mute that ad until the damn video plays. That's what we gonna do. Alrighty. So it looks like the cast of the bootleg Living Single is on here. Yeah. And yeah, this is a pretty long ad to just watch a video. I fucking hate ads, man. I do. I pay to watch less of them. Oh, man. All right, so let's unmute this.
East of Houston.
And let's see what they're talking about.
Legally suspended 18-year-old Daryl George over the length of his locks hairstyle. The district had asked the judge to clarify the Texas Crown Act, which bans race-based hair discrimination. Superintendent Dr. Poole has maintained the law does not specifically mention length, but State Rep. Jolanda Jones says locks have length, having length is inferred within the culture of the Crown Act.
I believe the Crown Act is good because it was filed to protect kids who were being discriminated against in Barbers Hill ISD. The fact that the judge in Barbers Hill misinterpreted it, and I'm not going to even say they have a bad intent. You know, I'm going to say they don't have any cultural competence, and that's why they didn't understand it.
The spokesperson for the family said the young man George had tears in his eyes as they'd left the courtroom. The family's attorney says they intend to appeal the ruling.
Yeah, so
Norfolk Southern told officials.
Yeah, so like the idea of the Crown Act, and that I believe that was federal legislation as well. I don't think that's like limited to what goes on in the states. But the whole premise of the Crown Act is so that like schools couldn't discriminate against cultural representations of how people wore their hair, right? And so oftentimes we found that black hairstyles have often been deemed unprofessional and unkempt, right? And that we've had to kind of conform to what the Eurocentric aesthetic is to be professional, right? And so what the Crown Act was supposed to combat was the fact that like, yo, man, if I can wear my hair in a cultural relevant style and not be discriminated against because of it. And so the fact that this school is saying that like, yeah, you can't have your hair, I believe they said you couldn't have your hair past your shoulder blades. And like, I get that there is a thing as far as long hair on males, long, stringy or whatever, and they think that it is unkempt. However, if this young man is keeping his hair braided up in the way in which he did, he's keeping his hair in a neat style, despite the fact that it's lengthy, but it's also part of his culture in order to be able to wear his dreadlocks. I do think that it's a bit it's fucked up. Let's just say it's fucked up that they've just pretty much disregarded the Crown Act in terms of this kid being suspended from school. The other part that I think is interesting about this is that y'all think it's more important to keep this kid out of school because he won't cut his hair. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things that you can suspend a kid for school for. This kid likes to fight. This kid likes to disrupt class. This kid doesn't do the work. This kid is having some behavioral issues, things of that nature. But to kick a kid out of school because they refuse to cut their hair in a length that you think is deemed acceptable, I think that's I think it's a I think it is a misappropriation or a misapplication of authority on a child who's basically just trying to go to school and be themselves, man. And the fact that his parents have had to go through court in order to try to just get them back into school because the school district keeps allowing him to be suspended because he refuses to cut off something that is culturally relevant to him. I just think it's a disservice, man, and it's a shame that he has to go through this. Again, now a lot of folks would have been like, "Man, I'd just cut them goddamn dreads off and go to school and then grow them back up again." But you shouldn't have to do that. That's the whole point of having that law in the first damn place. You should not have to do that. And the fact that we even have to have a Crown Act in place anyway speaks to the need of we shouldn't have to do these things. So, yeah, man. Shout out to Daryl George, but also, man, keep your head up, young man. Hopefully, the appeal that they come across next will rectify this situation. I just hope that young man is able to like really kind of focus in on school. I know it's been difficult for him and whatnot with all the distractions going on about his hair, but I really do hope that young man is able to kind of keep his focus and keep his grades right, and not let that be a thing that they kind of throw at him as well, right? So you got that going on. But yeah, Texas judge rules the Crown Act was not violated because they kept suspending this kid from school, right? So we got that going on. Now, another story that we got here going on, and this is where we start getting into the bullshit, y'all. My apologies, but this is where we get into some of the bullshit, right? So, Donald Trump, we talked about this last week. He released some shoes, and he was booed at SneakerCon last week, right? I believe he was at SneakerCon in Philadelphia, and there was plenty of boos of him while he was there. Now, I tried to play that video last week, and I was getting a lot of buffering and whatnot, but he was getting booed out of that motherfucker, man. I think that was probably one of the few times where Donald Trump went to go speak to a crowd of people, and he did not have, a room full of sycophants who were just like, ready to like lick his dirty drawers and shit, right? But he released these shoes, and the Trump supporters over at Fox News really did believe that his release of these shoes made Donald Trump have inroads with the black community. And when when they say the black community, I'm wondering if these just in the back of their mind, they just niggas. Just in the back of their mind, it just that's how much they think of us, right? So I'm gonna pull this video up because you guys have got to see this shit. But let's see. Wait a minute. Let's take that down. Let's exit that one. And I'm going to do this one. Yeah, this is the one we want. So, yeah, let's see what the fuck the people over at Fox News are saying about Donald Trump and his golden shoes. Let's see what they're talking about here.
There was a big win for Trump this weekend, hours after he launched his new sneaker line in a surprise visit to SneakerCon in Philadelphia. The gold Never Surrender high tops officially sold out. No word yet on if the
They call them the Never Surrenders. We call them the Insurrection 45s or the J6s. You know what I'm saying? I've seen a lot of people calling them the J6s. I'm calling them the Insurrection 45s.
Limited supply of $399 kicks will be restocked. Jason, you're a fashionable guy. Will you be getting yourself some Trump's?
Also, here's the other thing too, right? Because they really are pumping this up that like, yo, Donald Trump sold out on these shoes. Like the Donald Trump golden shoes sold out. That's big news. He sold out of them. Y'all were laughing at him, but he sold out. Here's the rub. They never told you niggas how many pairs of shoes he actually had in stock. Nigga, I know false scarcity when I see it. He might have had 7 pairs of shoes in stock, and 7 motherfuckers bought them, and it was all a part of his campaign. And then they had that one goofy motherfucker who paid $9,000. They had $9,000 on some goddamn shoes, man. Like just because they was Trump shoes at that. Like, come on, man. Like just. God damn. Come on, be for real, bro. Be for real. But yeah, let's go. Let's let these people talk some more though.
Sneakers, bright gold, so you can blend in
Not
here on the
at that
streets?
price. Holy cow. You can get them in POTUS white or T-red. They are definitely a collectible item. You know what drives the Democrats nuts? Donald Trump does so well with blue-collar workers. Those truckers that are saying, hey, we're not going to deliver in New York City, that's the heart and soul of the Trump movement. And Democrats can't stand it. They don't understand it. Mm-hmm. They don't like it. But they try to fight back with these stupid op-eds that make no sense.
Yeah, again, Raymond, warping America.
And here's the other part, right? Blue collar America. These people, all of these folks, none of these folks are blue collar people. And it's weird how they always try to act as though they connect with the blue collar worker and the blue collar people. And like, because there's going to be another video I'm going to play later. But like, it's weird how they try to like make themselves out as though they have the pulse of the people, the blue collar worker. It's weird how they try to have that connection.
American politics, mega bad. You know, Dark Brandon has told us that time and time again, mega bad. But do you think this is actually pushing Trump supporters to be more enthusiastic in their support when they're constantly called deplorable, mega, radicalized, you name it?
David French's piece in the New York Times, frankly, is a little cuckoo. I mean, he talks about these MAGA threats and how it's unraveling society. I've got a couple of people I'd like David French to talk to, Justice Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and pro-lifers who had their clinics firebombed in the last year. I mean, this is completely unhinged. Look, there's a lot of violence happening in America, but to try to somehow throw all of that at Donald Trump's feet, even with those gold high tops, I think this is a bridge too far. But look, every time they try to say Trump, they try to stop him at a trial, or they try to throw all of this, sludge at him, he somehow survives, which.
So here's the other part, right? They say like they're trying to throw all this stuff at Trump and somehow he survives. Like, yo, real talk. You don't get indicted for stealing classified documents unless, of course, you stole classified documents. Have any of y'all ever gotten like, an indictment for having some shit at y'all house that y'all wasn't supposed to have? Have any of y'all ever had that shit happen to you? Ain't never happened to me. Have any of y'all ever had like somebody indict you for trying to overturn an election? Because I swear to God, that's never happened to me. I ain't never been indicted for nothing like that. Never happened to me. Have any of y'all ever had that happen to you? How about, have y'all ever tried to inflate the amount that y'all houses was worth? You know what I'm saying? Not to like, I got say for instance, you got a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bedroom, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath house, and it's about 1,300 square feet or some shit like that. And it probably sold for about $250,000, right? Did you try to tell the people when you were selling the house that, for tax purposes that your house really was 5 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 3,500 square feet to inflate the value of it? Have you ever done some shit like that? Because that's the shit that I think that Trump is getting, like, that's what the fuck he going to court for. So when they try to act as though these are things that we could all relate to, it's like, no, nigga, I can't relate to none of that shit y'all talking about. I've never done any of that shit. I don't know anybody who's ever done any of that shit. Trump's done that shit, and that's why his ass is in court.
Must drive his opponents crazy, because even the sneaker thing, I was on social media last night. Very interesting, as you see black support eroding from Joe Biden. This is connecting with black America because they love sneakers. They're into sneakers. They love this is a big deal, certainly in the inner city. So when you have Trump roll out his sneaker line, they're like, wait a minute, this is cool. He's reaching them on a level that defies and is above politics. The culture always trumps politics. And Trump understands culture like no politician I've ever seen.
Hey, how many brothers do y'all think this nigga really knows? Like, just looking at him. How many brothers do y'all think this motherfucker really knows? I was on social media and it was a thing. Like Trump, like he really connects with the blacks on a cultural level because the blacks love sneakers. Like, hey, bro, if you think that because this goofy motherfucker, this orange motherfucker, released some shoes that were gaudy gold, and that because black people like sneakers, that they're gonna, you know what? Trump came out with some shoes. I'm voting for that motherfucker. I got a bridge to sell you, bro. I got a stockpile of magic beans in my basement I'm trying to get rid of. If you believe that shit, you need to come over here and get these magic beans, bro. I swear to you, they will grow like they would grow the most magical motherfucking like shrooms you'll ever seen, man. Real talk. If you believe that, then I got these beans, man. And I swear to God, you're gonna love them, right? They think we stupid. Republicans think that black voters are stupid. This is what they think of you. That if Donald Trump could just put out some golden shoes, the blacks are gonna come around and say, hey, Donald Trump gets us as a culture. Donald Trump gets us as a community. He got gold shoes and we gotta have them. And I'm gonna vote for him. Get all the way the fuck up out of here, man. I'm saying, like, this is what he thinks those shoes is gonna do.
Yeah. What happened to your shaft? There is powerful niggardry at work here.
This is what he thinks those shoes is gonna do for the black community as far as voting for Trump is concerned. Like, this is the crazy disconnect that a lot of these people have with the average, not even just the average American, especially the average black American, though.
Question for you on that point, though.
Yeah.
Will the people that are excited about the sneakers and excited about Donald Trump, will that translate into them going out and voting for Donald Trump?
Well, anybody willing to put $400 down for a pair of sneakers? Yeah, I think that's commitment and love.
But here's the other thing too, right? Here's the other thing too, because here's the other thing here's the thing that I like on a very thin line, where I think he might be making a connection. Very thin line. Follow me here. Y'all remember when LeVar Ball came out with the Triple B Lonzo ZO2s a few years ago, and he came out with the motherfuckers for like I think they were like $400. It was $400, right? And you had some people who were like, real big LeVar Ball fans. Not even so much fans of Lonzo. They were LeVar Ball fans because here's a black father who was like really gung ho about his sons, and we need to support black fatherhood, and y'all some haters, man, all this other shit. And like the ZO2s came out, and Lonzo Ball's career ain't been the same because Lonzo Ball's shoes was tearing the fuck up, and we know that they was like outsourced. They outsourced them. I think it was from Skechers who was making the shits, and man, Lonzo Ball was like, he was really out here, selling them, right? $400 because y'all pay for quality and all of that. Never lost, all that shit, right? There's the same level of hubris. To some degree, there's the same level of hubris for some niggas, right? For some, not all of us. And we got to really just kind of,
Who are these niggas? We need to stay away from these niggas.
We need to stay away from these niggas, but there's some niggas, man. Just some. And I think that's what I think he thinks the rest of us is on that LeVar Ball shit. On that, like, man, we got to pay for quality, this, that, and the other. And we really supporting the cause of LeVar Ball and all the overly bombastic sort of shit that LeVar Ball was about. You know what I'm saying? And did anybody even get them goddamn shoes? Did anybody get they Triple Bs, man, they ZO2s? Did anybody get those? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know some motherfuckers ordered them, but they actually receive them? Because I ain't seen them bitches in the wild ever. Like, not never. I ain't not never have I seen them motherfuckers out in the wild. So did anybody get them? And that's kind of how I feel about what's going on with this Trump shit, right? I ain't gonna see them bitches in the wild. It ain't gonna be a whole bunch of those shoes made. So long as a few of these, like I said, they probably only made like 7. I said 7, maybe 700. He's got enough people in the Trump coalition who will buy that just because it's something that's like associated with Trump, right? Because even though we might not necessarily like it, there's a contingent of folks who are totally devoted to that son bitch, right? Totally devoted to him. So whatever the fuck he got going on, they all about it. And despite the fact that this might just be a ploy to kind of help this nigga pay this $500 million legal bill he got, some people are just completely fine with helping him pay that shit. But the fact that these people think that like black voters as a group, as a block, are going to vote for Donald Trump because he came out with these shoes is actually fucking laughable.
You're right.
It's something. It's affection on some level. I don't think this is just for collectors. It's for people who want Donald Trump brand sneakers. That, again, he's connecting on a different level. And that.
I hope he brings new voters into the fold, though, because I have a feeling the people that are going to go buy the $400 sneakers were probably going to vote for Trump anyway. So that's my concern. How?
Oh, yeah, well,
dude is like, he's really bought in on that Trump shit, though. Like let me pull this back real quick. Look, the look on his face as she's talking to him. Like, he's shocked that she doesn't even fucking like, she's like, hey man, look, I don't think that like the people who are buying these shoes are gonna like just go out here and vote for Trump. I think the people who are buying these shoes are people who are already in the Trump. And he's like, oh no, bitch, you are really fucking up my point of view right now. Like the look on his face, like this goofy motherfucker, man. But yeah, man. So Trump sold out of the shoes. He sold out of the shoes. I don't believe that they really had a large stock of those shoes to begin with. But the fact that they are using that. The fact that they are using that as a reason why black voters are going to be supporting Trump going forward, I think it is an affront to the black community as a voting bloc. It shows just how little they think of us as a voting bloc. And for anybody who is black, who is considering voting for Trump, here's what they think about you. Not much. Not fucking much, man. So you got that going on. Now, another story that we got here going on. Let me pull this down. Let me pull that down. And we got another story here. This actually has to do with the fact that Donald Trump was actually a poll was done on who were the better presidents of the United States. Donald Trump was voted the worst president of all time.
God damn!
Yeah, man, of all fucking times, man, of all fucking times. So let me see if I have that video here. Ah, yes, I do have the video. And let's see if we can play that. And it looks like I'm using an ad blocker. Yes, because I am using an ad blocker because I hate ads, y'all. I hate ads. But let's see what they're talking about here on I think this is Mediaite. So let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on just a second while I pull this up. And not that. Let's share my screen. Let's do that. Yeah. All right. And boom. Let's see what they are talking about over there at Fox again, because they love them some Trump over there at Fox. Let's see what they're talking about.
A new ranking, and I'm going to add, in my view, a highly questionable ranking of presidents, is turning heads after Biden came in higher than both Donald Trump and Ronald Reagan in his wildest dreams. The survey was done by the Presidential Greatness Project, who claim to be the foremost organization of social science experts in presidential politics.
Here's the thing: if they had put Donald Trump above Joe Biden or Barack Obama or anyone else, I think they would, like, she's saying so-called. It wouldn't be so-called. They were like, oh yeah, they are a very credible organization, and we really do value their opinion and their methodology and how they came up with the result of this poll. But of course they're not gonna say that because they don't like the result of the motherfucking poll at this moment.
They may be the foremost example of the disconnect between ivory tower academia and real people. That aside, Abe Lincoln ranked.
So remember, I said something earlier about this. She's talking about ivory tower, academia, and the regular American person, right? And they alluded to something about that when they were talking about the Trump shoes and, how truckers and all this other shit they were talking about when they were going to buy the Trump sneakers and all this other shit. Keep in mind, that was Kayleigh McEnany. Kayleigh McEnany was the former press secretary for Donald Trump while he was president of the United States, right? She also used to be a CNN correspondent, Republican, conservative correspondent while she was on CNN before she got, pulled into the Trump administration, right? But she's a Harvard fucking graduate. Harvard. She went to Harvard. You don't get no more motherfucking ivory tower than fucking Harvard, man. That's the rub. Like, these people be acting as though, like, yo, they don't also represent the ivory tower. They do. They don't represent the average, everyday motherfucking dude, blue collar worker and all this stuff. These are some highly educated motherfuckers. Now, the weird thing is, they will tell you that these institutions are liberal bastions and that, like, we should do away with these institutions and everything else. But they also went to these institutions and got these highfalutin ass degrees from these institutions, and they are using those credentials from those institutions to be in positions to where she can be the White House press secretary. She can have an anchor job on Fox News after being a part of that administration, where she can have the network that allows for her to even be in this space is because she's associated with that sort of institution. So the idea that they can act as though they're not a part of the ivory tower is the richest shit in the world. They think y'all fucking stupid. They think we stupid. And I say this all the time, man. Like, yo, when these people get to talking, you better listen to them. But also pay attention to everything going on with these motherfuckers. They think you stupid. Real talk.
Ranked first. Okay, fair. Then comes Obama at 7th, and Biden came in 14th, actually beating Ronald Reagan, who came in 6th.
Oh, so we buffering again. God damn it, Comcast. Because y'all do, I swear to God, hey, we got to get a Comcast, sponsorship or something. Because, I feel like Comcast be like, yo, they be, on my shit because, I be talking shit about them while we doing the show. But, come on, bro. Come on, man. Play the goddamn video. Real talk. Seriously? We're doing this now? This is what we're doing? Are these
They are the ivory tower elites who in no way represent the view of the American people.
No, but it also goes to show you, though, how history can be written and some of it can be built off a lie as well. But no, this list is bogus. Everyone knows that, Obama's not that high. He was a terrible president. But I think on this president, sorry.
In what world was Obama a terrible president? The man came in and it was a goddamn a global recession. It was the auto industry was in shambles. The housing industry was kaput. Obama put this motherfucking country back on its goddamn feet. What the fuck are you talking? As a matter of fact, when Donald Trump became president, the economy was motherfucking humming. And then Donald Trump actually was coasting off of the economy that Barack Obama gave him when he came into the presidency. So the idea that Obama was a terrible president, again, while y'all are talking about the ivory tower and those people who are disconnected from the American people, as a blue collar worker my motherfucking self, fuck you and whatever the fuck it is you talking about, because you're not making any sense right now.
I think on this is just my thought bubbles. You don't want to know what goes on in here. It's a lot. But I think on this President's Day, we're reminded that the president's not supposed to have this much power. The Constitution actually granted limited authority to the president. It was that way until really the 1930s. So
interestingly, that you would say the presidency is not supposed to have this much power. Because Donald Trump wants more of that power. Donald Trump wants to be a dictator when he comes into the office again. So the idea that the presidency is not supposed to have this much power, and yet the guy that you guys support wants more of it, again, speaks to that disconnect that y'all have with the American people, and also the idea that y'all think that the vast majority of us are stupid. They think we fucking stupid, man.
I hope that we actually go back to a system of government where the president has less power, where we can decentralize the government and go back to a time where the people hold the power and not the people in charge, where we the people, not our elite leaders.
And I saw this disconnect so much at Harvard Law School, where you had these scholars, and these are scholars from both the right and the left.
I saw this disconnect at Harvard Law School. Again, she's talking about ivory towers. I saw this disconnect at Harvard Law School. You were there. You were fucking there, ma'am. Come the fuck on.
But I was there in 2016, 2015, and it was so different than the feeling you got on the ground among the American people ahead of Trump's election. Yeah. So let's talk reality. Let's bring in Gallup, Joe Concha. During President Joe Biden's third full year in office, spanning January 2023 to January 19th, an average of 39.8% of Americans approved of his job performance among prior presidents in the Gallup polling era who were elected to their first term. Only Jimmy Carter fared worse.
Jimmy Carter, I believe, was the last one-term Democratic president, right?
That's right.
God willing.
There you go, ladies.
Get him out.
But you guys may have seen me like come from the green.
Hey, guess what, y'all? Donald Trump was the last Republican one-term president, y'all. I mean, if we go crack jokes, man, let's crack the jokes both ways. You know what I'm saying? Let's crack them both ways, baby.
I remember walking in here very gingerly because I broke 2 ribs laughing so hard after seeing these rankings. You're telling me Ronald Reagan, who brought us peace and prosperity, inherited a mess out of Carter, and also gave us the Iran-Contra and the influx of crack cocaine throughout the urban American landscape. That guy, Ronald Reagan. Also the guy who was pretty much pro gun control too. Like I remember when, well, not necessarily I remember, but I read somewhere that that Ronald Reagan was he was one of those people who was for gun control, especially when it came to the Black Panthers back in the 1960s and whatnot, where he signed into law the Mulford Act. I believe it was 1967 where he signed in the Mulford Act, where they pretty much took guns out of the hands of the Black Panthers because the Black Panthers studied the law and found out that you could have a loaded long gun in public spaces. And so when they figured out that the Black Panthers were patrolling neighborhoods while the police were brutalizing black people, and the Black Panthers, pretty much were trying to bring an end to that shit, the Republicans, led by one Ronald Reagan, was very much in favor of gun control. The NRA too. And taking guns out of the hands of black folks. That Ronald Reagan. So, like, again, when they start talking this shit about who Ronald Reagan was or who the Republicans are and what they represent, I want you motherfuckers to understand. They think you stupid. They think you don't know shit. Ronald Reagan also ran on the idea that black people were the vast majority of the people who were the recipients of welfare. He won in 1980, basically running on the idea of the welfare queen, of a lady who I believe in, I'm forgetting her name at the moment, where he talked about her having many different aliases, how she was, I think it says she had like 5 different, public assistance accounts, and she was showing up to court in fur coats and all these other things. But the vast majority of people who were on public assistance were white folks. But they made black people the face of public assistance. Ronald Reagan ran on that. So I want people to understand that when these people talk about, the disconnect, the idea that, black voters are, or better yet, that the Republican Party is connected to voters, blue collar voters, or like just regular folks in general, right? Because I know a lot of white folks get mixed up in this bullshit too. But the blue collar worker, usually when they're talking about the blue collar worker, they're talking about white voters. Despite the fact that there's a lot of black people who are blue collar workers. If you work at a plant, an auto plant, you're a blue collar worker. There's a lot of black folks who work there. A lot of Hispanic people who work there. If you're working if you're working for the garbage department or like the sanitation department, there's a lot of black people who work there, a lot of white people who work there. There's a lot of Hispanic people who work there. They are disconnected, and then it is weird in how they try to frame it as though, because again, they went to these Ivy League schools too, that they're connected to the regular folk. It's bullshit. It's always been bullshit. Real talk. His administration brought down the friggin' Soviet Union, that he ranks lower than Joe Biden, who has given us high food prices, high gas prices, an open border, educational test scores at a 30-year low. The world seems like it's on fire because it is, and all the crime we've talked about in major cities. You're going to rank him above Reagan? I mean, this is the best unintentional comedy out there, and it hurts, literally.
It does. Emily.
Yeah, and also notice the diversity on this panel. Notice the diversity on the panel. Do you see any black people on this panel? Do you see any? Do you see any white people? I mean, Hispanic people on this panel? Do you see any Asian people on this panel? is the lily whitest ass panel on Earth. On Earth, not Earth, Earth. And they're talking about the disconnect between regular America and them. And them. And they can't believe that Donald Trump was voted the worst fucking president in the history of America. I believe the OG Martin Luther King Jr. had something to say about that. And it had a little something. He said a little something like this here.
A lot of white folk have demonstrated eloquently that they don't have no sense.
They ain't got no sense. Real talk. Real talk. So yeah, man, you got that going on, man. But the white folks are on the Fox News are losing their mind because Donald Trump was ranked the worst motherfucking president in the history of the republic, right? So we got that going on. Now, that does not mean that because white folks are disconnected, that there aren't some black people who are just as stupid as they believe us to be, right? There are some who are just as stupid as they believe us to be. And oftentimes, I need us to understand that some of these niggas, you know, it's not so much, it's the old adage that all skin folk ain't kin folk. And when you see these niggas, you got to understand these niggas when you see these niggas, right? And also, we got to stay away from them. As my man.
Who are these niggas? We need to stay away from these niggas.
We need to stay away from these niggas, man. Real talk. Real talk. Because oftentimes they sometimes say,
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. No wonder you get D's and everything.
Yeah, man. They disappoint us in that way sometimes, man. Real talk. And so one of the people who is disappointing us in that way right now is actually a dude that goes by the name of Byron Donalds, man. So Byron Donalds is a Republican congressman. I believe he comes out of Florida, and that's unfortunate for Florida. But yeah, man. So Byron Donalds had this to say because Donald Trump actually went before a bunch of black conservatives, right? Now, here's the rub. I saw some pictures on Twitter a couple of days ago where, like, a lot of the black conference for, there was, like, the Black Conservative Federation, right? There's this thing called the Black Conservative Federation, and Donald Trump spoke to them over the weekend. But a lot of the people in that crowd were not black. It was a lot of white folks. There's a lot of white folks in the room, man. It was the Black Conservative Federation, but I want, like, from what I saw, and I don't have the pictures in front of me right now, but from what I saw, that room looked about 48 to 50% white. I'm just saying, right? I've seen other like instances where they were like blacks for Trump at like different rallies and shit, and there was not a black person in the booth. It was a bunch of white folks in the booth. You know what I'm saying? You got that going on. But Byron Donalds went on Meet the Press to talk about why or how Donald Trump is connecting with black voters, right? And Donald Trump spoke in front of this supposedly mostly black audience at the Black Conservative Federation luncheon or whatever the fuck they call this shit. And this is what Byron Donalds had to say. So let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your boy. And let's see what this nigga is talking about, because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But you know, they don't never make a whole lot of sense. So let me see. Let's see what he's talking about here as he talks to Kristen Welker from Meet the Press. Let's see what they're talking about.
Donald Trump at a group of black conservatives. He made a number of headline-making comments, including this one. Take a look.
I got indicted a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. And they actually viewed me as I'm being discriminated against.
Nigga, nobody is seeing you as being discriminated against. Like, nigga, not nobody. Oh, better yet, I'm sorry. He really said that shit in a room full of black people, that the black people are looking at him as though he is a victim of the legal system because he is being indicted for, let's say, overthrowing them or trying to overthrow a motherfucking election, for stealing documents in another case, for overvaluing the products of his properties and devaluing it when it came to tax implications. Like, he's thinking that black people, because some of us have had issues with the law, that we connect with him on the sense of persecution from the legal system. Hey man, we ain't getting in trouble for shit like that. That's not what we get in trouble for shit for. Like, that's not what we do. But let's listen more to what these motherfuckers got to say.
Congressman, it sounds like Donald Trump was implying that he can win black voters because they get indicted all the time too. Is that what he was saying?
Well, I think it's in part of that. That's part of it, Kristen. Look, it was a great night Friday night in Columbia, South Carolina. The president was really just enjoying himself. It was a great celebration for black conservatives.
This nigga was clearly lying.
Clearly.
Across our country. But let's be very clear. Our economy is a mess. Our border is completely unsecured. The
border. You mean that border, like, you know, so here's the other part, right? So the Democrats and the Republicans came forward with a bipartisan, right? Even in times like this, they came together with a bipartisan border deal. And and Joe Biden was ready to sign that motherfucker into law. And you know who gutted that shit? Donald Trump. Donald Trump gutted that shit, man. Donald Trump gutted it, and the reason why he gutted it, he was like, because it was going to be too beneficial to the other side of the motherfucking aisle. Nigga! So the fact that this goofy motherfucker right now is on national television talking about we got a border that's out of control, and meanwhile there was legislation that they could have passed and didn't because they thought it was going to help Democrats. Come on, bruh. They think we fucking stupid, man. They think we fucking stupid. Oh, damn. Come on, YouTube. Don't do me like this, baby.
things are causes of major concerns for black voters. Like,
are we really doing this right now? We are really doing this right now. Okay, let's do this here. Let me back up and let's see if it plays some more. I might have to buy a new computer or some shit, because Jesus Christ. No, we really not gonna play it though? We really gonna do this? Like right at this moment? We're not gonna play it? Let's see. Let me see if I can back up some. And or let's refresh.
And on Friday, you introduced Donald Trump at a group of black conservatives.
Well, all right. For whatever reason, this video decides it just wants to buffer to oblivion, and yeah, that fucking sucks. Especially considering some of this is already loaded. Y'all can see this; it's fucking already loaded, but it will just refuses to fucking play. I don't get that. I don't get that at all. But yeah, man, Byron Donalds is out here doing his best motherfucking coon job, man. Real talk. He's doing his best job. All right, but yeah, man, that's Byron Donalds. But here's the thing, and I think is well, let me pull this down. Because we're not using this anymore. Apparently, this shit just does not.
The president was really just enjoying himself. It was a great celebration for black conservatives across our country. But let's be very clear. Our economy is a mess. Our border is completely unsecured. These things are causes of major concerns for black voters, like it is for every voter in our country. But then when you layer on the fact that, yes, this is political persecution from the Department of Justice and from radical DAs throughout our country, this is something similar that black people had to deal with the justice system themselves. And so their look of it is real simple. Well, dang, if the government's going after him with foolishness, he can't be that bad, especially considering the fact that Joe Biden is terrible at his job.
That is this, you know what? I think is as much as I, don't like this motherfucker, and as much as we all know that he turned out to be a royal piece of shit, he was on to something when he said this shit.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's no wonder you get D's and everything.
That's the dumbest shit I ever heard in my life. For anybody who's been paying attention to anything that's going on politically, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Congressman, let's just be clear. All 4 indictments against former President Trump were brought by grand juries. There is no evidence that the indictments are political in nature. But let me stick to the question here. Let me get you to respond to Biden campaign co-chair and former Congressman Cedric Richmond, who said this about his comments. Donald Trump claiming that black Americans will support him because of his criminal charges is insulting. It's moronic. And it's just plain racist. How do you respond to that charge that it's just plain racist?
What I would say is that Cedric is trying to play politics and use racial politics even now as we get into the general election. That's one. Number two, like I said at the top, the number one reason why minority voters in our country want to support Donald Trump is because he did the job of president. He did a great job as president. Our country was secure. The economy was great. These are all things that Donald Trump talked about Friday night. He also did talk about the indictments. What Americans don't want to see, especially black Americans and anybody else, they don't want to see a politicized Justice Department. They don't want to see a two-tier system of justice. They want justice to be followed.
All right, that's enough of that because
I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Real talk. The fact that you believe that black Americans are looking at Donald Trump as a victim of the Justice Department as opposed to someone who is actually having some consequences finally being meted out on him is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Real talk. And I'm gonna get back into this whole idea, right? So, and it's not even so much Donald Trump. It's not even so much Donald Trump. This goes back into a larger discussion about what we believe as Americans, what we believe as people, and how people view black people, but black voters in particular, right? There was a post on Facebook a few days ago that absolutely had nothing to do with politics, man. Had nothing to do with politics. I was on some Detroit, I'm in a few groups on Facebook. Had absolutely nothing to do with politics, and yet somehow, some way, politics became a thing in this particular post, right? And this was what made me aware, not even so much aware, because I'm always aware of this sort of stuff. I'm woke, right? I'm woke. But one of the things that made me aware of this is that we are definitely in an election year because the racist and the trolls are out in full force on all of your social media platforms at the moment. And they are pumping out tons of misinformation, disinformation, and everything else, right? And one of the things I thought was interesting was I ended up in this back and forth with someone who asserted that black people would be foolish to vote for racist Democrats because racist Democrats have been racist, for the longest, right? Why are y'all voting for Democrats when, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves? And unfortunately, some people, because unfortunately, some people aren't educated enough to know there's a reason why black people no longer vote Republican, right? The thing that offends me the most is the idea that black people vote Democratic out of some sort of loyalty to the Democratic Party.
black people vote Democratic out of political expediency. Because at least when it comes to the Democratic Party, you're going to have someone who actually listens to your concerns, right? They actually listen to some of the things that you want done. They might not necessarily get everything that you want done, but they're going to listen to you. They're going to listen to you. So, like, you know, unfortunately, diabetes runs, you know, it is a pretty common malady in the black community. There's a lot of black people who will benefit from the fact that insulin is now being capped at $35. They weren't getting that sort of, like they were being priced out of their treatment because insulin prices were rising. There's a lot of people, black people, who are going to get some of those infrastructure jobs that are now being generated from that infrastructure bill. There's a lot of black people who are going to benefit from that student loan forgiveness that has been happening. Despite the fact that everybody's student loans haven't been forgiven, there's a lot of black people whose student loans have been forgiven. Right? I'm not one of them. I don't qualify. But I'll be damned if I hate on somebody else who does qualify for that said student loan forgiveness. Right? So one of the things that I think is interesting is that, like, yo, there's this thing that, like, Republicans like to say, or better yet, not even so much Republicans. There's this thing that, like, a lot of you know, the people who would be GOP voters who are also black, who would say, like, yo, man, we ain't getting no tangibles, right? We don't get the tangibles. The Republican Party, like the Democratic Party, are taking our votes for granted. They ain't really doing nothing specifically for black people. And because they're not doing anything specifically for black people, despite the fact that some of these policies help the black people disproportionately, because it doesn't say this is the black so-and-so. You got those folks who are like, man, I'm looking for tangibles. I need reparations, man. I need something specifically for my community, right? The funny thing about that is that many of the people who are saying shit like that are often, like, they'll tell you to vote for somebody like Trump. They'll tell you to vote for somebody like a Robert Kennedy Jr. They'll tell you to vote for some sort of third party candidate whom we don't really know a whole hell of a lot about, who has a snowball's chance in hell in winning. And what we really know, if you're paying any attention, is that those folks are really just trying to siphon off votes from the Democratic candidate so that the Republican candidate wins, right? They think you stupid. But also, when anybody comes at you and they start talking about this idea that the Republican Party is going to bring you any tangibles, I want you guys to recognize that this is what the Republican Party really thinks of you when it comes to giving you any sort of tangibles whatsoever. This is Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville, right? Now, a lot of the people who are talking about tangibles really be talking about reparations. Talking about reparations. This is what the Republican Party is talking about when it comes to y'all getting y'all tangibles or y'all reparations.
The Democratic Party, they have a majority. They could stop this crime today. Some people say, well, they're soft on crime. No, they're not soft on crime. They're pro-crime. They want crime. They want crime because they want to take over what you got. They want to control what you have. They want reparation because they think the people that do the crime are owed that. They are not owed.
When he says the people that do the crime are owed that, he's talking about your black ass. He's talking about you. The people that do the crime are the ones that are asking for the reparations. I'm gonna pull that back, and y'all listen to this again. Check this out.
Because they think the people that do the crime are owed that.
The people that do the crime are owed that. Bullshit is what he said before they bleeped it out. Right? So, understand that they think you stupid. I had a dude that, like, was, you know, who came at me on some bullshit with, you know, I was right? That I had been brainwashed by the Democratic Party because I actually recognized history. And because I was actually able to use history to apply that to what we are seeing today. Right? So it was a white dude who came at your boy and he talked about, Biden, he talked about the crime bill of 1994. He talked about, Republicans or better yet, he said MLK was a Republican. And also he said that like, yo, I remember a great man once saying that he dreamed that his daughters would be able to live based on the content of their character and not the color of their skin. And I had to remind him that Dr. King also said this shit.
A lot of white folk have demonstrated eloquently that they don't have no sense.
Because Dr. King was much more than that one motherfucking quote from that one motherfucking speech that y'all didn't listen to. Much more than that. And I'm tired of white conservatives, especially in Black History Month, coming at black people talking about the content of the skin, not the color of the content of the character, not the color of their skin. Have you ever listened to anything other than that from King? Ever? Have you ever listened to the guy, the speech that he gave? Well, not even so much a speech, but where he said he feels as though he's integrated his people into a burning house. Have you ever listened to King say that? And despite all of that, have you ever come to grips with the fact that, like, yo, despite as peaceful as King was and the nonviolence that King preached, that it was a white man with a rifle who shot King to death? That at the time that Dr. King was killed, he had a disapproval rating in America at 75%. There was a Harris poll in 1968. Dr. King had a negative approval in America at 75%. The white folks hated him because he was actually like tearing down some of the privileges that they had. There were some black folks who were upset with King because he wasn't as militant as they wanted him to be. But at the time of King's death, he had a 75% disapproval rating in the Harris poll. And much of that was, much of that kind of culminated from some of the legislation that he kind of helped bring forth. We got the Voting Rights Act. We got the Fair Housing Act. We got the Civil Rights Act. White folks were very resentful of that. Very resentful. So much so that when Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ, passed the Civil Rights Act of 1960, I believe it was 1964-65. When he passed that, he said, and I quote, "I believe we may have just lost the South for a generation." Now, why would Lyndon Baines Johnson, a Democrat, be worried about losing a region of the country to Republicans for passing legislation that benefited black folks? Why would he be worried about that? So when there are white folks who are talking about how they can't believe that black people are voting for the Democratic Party, it's not because we have any sort of allegiance to the Democratic Party. We understand that the Democratic Party is politically expedient for us to get the shit that we need done. Not that we have an allegiance to them. They at least listen to us. They don't say shit like this that Tommy Tuberville said when it came to addressing our fucking issues. When it came to talking about like, yo, they come to get what you got. That's bullshit. The people who are doing the crime want what you got. This is what Tommy...
They want to control what you have. They want reparation because they think the people that do the crime are owed that.
This is what they think about you. They think you fucking stupid. So anytime I see someone like a Byron Donalds, anytime I see someone like a Candace Owens, anytime I see someone like a Tim Scott, anytime I see someone like a Condoleezza Rice, anytime I see someone like a fucking Diamond and Silk, the Hodge twins or whatever the fuck else, I understand that they are on the grift too. They get paid to say that sort of shit. The rest of us have to live with these motherfucking policies in these positions. They think we fucking stupid. And it's high time for us to let them know that we ain't. Now, again, the person that I was going back and forth with on the Facebook when I was bringing up the fact that, like, yo, you know, there's the Lily White movement of the 1880s, and, you know, there's the Southern strategy of Lee Atwater and Richard Nixon and Barry Goldwater, who were courting the votes of the racist white people in the South. This is how the Republican Party went from having a predominantly black supporter base to the Democratic Party having the black supporter base. It wasn't as if they're just like, yo, the black people was like, yo, black people were Republican. A lot of the first black people who were ever elected to Congress were Republicans. The reason why they aren't now is because those people have given up on the fact, or better yet, given up on black voters outside of a cynical way in which to, like, yo, we could preserve power if we can get just a few of these niggas. If we can get a few of these niggas to get on our to kind of like ride our train, we be all right. It only takes a few of them. But they think we stupid. And if I can leave anybody with any who's listening to the sound of my voice right now with any sort of clarity, is that the Republican Party right now is very disingenuous in any sort of outreach that they have for black voters in 2024. Even the person with whom they have as a standard bearer for President of the United States has not only called for the death of the Central Park Five, the exonerated five now, but was also one of those folks in New York who refused to even rent apartments to black people. Refused to even rent an apartment to black folks. He and his father were sued by the Justice Department because of it. They don't think you are a smart person. Right? They think you are a stupid motherfucker. And Donald Trump has gone on record to say he loves the poorly educated, right? He loves the poorly educated. Believe him when he says that shit. Believe him. So yeah, man. Like I said, I actually am surprised by how long this particular episode has lasted. I didn't think I was going to be on the mic this long tonight. But yeah, man, I do think that maybe I because of like we supposed to get some rain this week, so I might be able to get it back on the mic this week. But yeah, man, I just want people to be I want people to understand. They think you are not bright, especially black people. They don't think we are fucking politically astute enough to realize the bullshit that they are trying to pull in front of us. They do not believe that you are smart enough to understand that they do not believe in you as a fucking voter or as a human being. They think you are dumb as shit, that you will be enamored by the trinkets of golden sneakers. right? So you got that going on, man. Real talk. But it is time for me to get the fuck on up out of here. And I'm going to do that. But of course, before I do that, I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard. Go ahead and hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. You can also leave us an email at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails, and of course, those emails will get read here and replied to here live on the show. Follow me on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We really do appreciate everybody who goes about the minutes of doing that. It doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know while you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. Also, leave us some comments on YouTube, man. Our YouTube comments do get read here and responded to here live on the show. So if you're watching us later on YouTube, or if you're watching like an ancillary video that we post on YouTube, hey, man, leave those comments. We will reply to those comments here live on the show here as well. Also, go to our website at www.thespannreport.com. You can go there. You can visit our store, and you can copy yourself some merch, man. You can get yourself a hoodie, a t-shirt, a coffee mug, a mouse pad. We got a bunch of different things over there in our store, man. We really appreciate everybody who supports us in that way. That does cost you a little bit of it. It costs you a dime, but it also it supports us in helping pay the bills here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network. We appreciate everybody who supports us in that way. And also vote in our polls and leave us comments on our Spotify. Man, we appreciate everybody who's listening to us like that. And we appreciate your comments, and we will read those comments, and we will reply to those comments here live on the show, man. Real talk. But yo, man, I am about to get on up out of here. I will talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam, peace.